What happens when America's sweetheart Kelly Clarkson faces the most uncomfortable interview of her career? What began as a standard morning show chat quickly spiraled into televised drama. Viewers looked on in shock while producers scrambled behind the scenes. This is the story of how a simple question about her personal life ignited a confrontation so intense that Kelly walked off the Today Show set, leaving anchor Craig Melvin speechless and production in crisis. The morning had started like any other at NBC. Kelly Clarkson, fresh off a successful season of her talk show, was scheduled for a typical promotional interview with Creig Melvin. She was there to talk about her new album, her upcoming tour, and her continued success as a TV host. Everyone expected a feel-good segment. Kelly arrived in high spirits, greeting the crew and chatting warmly with makeup artists and assistants. Known for her down-to-earth warmth, she moved through the studio easily. Craig Melvin, likewise professional and confident, had his questions ready and seemed genuinely excited to interview one of America's most beloved performers. They took their seats, and the cameras rolled on what was meant to be an 8-minute segment. The first few minutes went perfectly. Craig opened with a heartfelt welcome. "Kelly, it's always such a pleasure to have you here," he said. "You've been crushing it with your talk show and now this incredible new album. Tell us, what inspired these songs?" Kelly's face brightened. She dove into her response, explaining how personal experiences shaped her music. She spoke of transitions, growth, and vulnerability. "This album really reflects where I am in life right now," she said. "I wanted to be honest about both the highs and the lows. Music is how I process everything." The interview felt natural. Kelly laughed at Craig's jokes and answered thoughtfully about her career. Then Craig tilted forward and asked, "Your fans are curious about your personal life. You've been open about your divorce. How are you handling everything now? Are you seeing someone special?" At first glance, the question smelled routine, but Kelly's body language shifted. A brief pause before speaking hinted at discomfort. "Craig," she said, voice warm but firm, "I'm in a good place right now. I'm focused on my kids, my career, and taking things one day at a time. That's healthiest for me right now." Still, Craig pressed on. "That's great. But recent rumors are swirling. Any truth to them?" Kelly's expression tightened. "I prefer to keep my private life private, Craig. I believe my fans respect that boundary that should have signaled a pivot." But Craig pushed on. "I understand wanting privacy, but your fans love you. Can you give us a hint? Something personal outside your work that makes you happy?" Kelly's jaw clenched, her hands folded in her lap. The studio felt tense. "Being able to come on shows like this and talk about my music, that's what makes me happy," she said coolly. "Not having every private detail picked apart for entertainment." Craig, either missing the cue or unwilling to pause, laughed it off. "We're just having a friendly conversation," he said. "Your fans tune in because they care about you, not just what you do." Kelly's eyes flashed, but she stayed composed. "I appreciate that. But caring about someone doesn't give you entitlement to know everything about them." When Craig pushed further, saying she'd agreed to that exposure by becoming a public figure, Kelly's expression grew steely. "What I signed up for," she said, "was promoting my album, talking about my work, not justifying every personal choice or being a gossip. Storyline." The studio's energy changed. People exchanged looks, whispered. Craig, now uncomfortable, insisted he was only asking what any celebrity might expect. Kelly then spoke with quiet resolve. "There's a real difference between choosing to share and being forced to expose. You asked me to cross a line you barely recognize?" Craig replied that when you build a brand around being relatable and authentic, people expect openness. "So because I offer a safe space for others to share, I lose my right to boundaries?" Kelly asked softly. Craig sputtered, clearly unprepared for this pushback. Kelly leaned in, tone firm. My brand is built on sharing when I choose to, not feeding your curiosity for ratings. Creig tried again, but reactions like this make people wonder what you're hiding. Kelly's fury broke through, but in control. What I am hiding, she said, voice intense, is how many times I cry in my car after interviews like this, trying to hold it together. How my kids ask me why strangers feel entitled to the private parts of our lives. I'm hiding the fact that I sometimes question whether this career is worth paying with my privacy and dignity. Creig's face drained of color. Kelly continued, pained but resolute. I'm disappointed in you. I trusted you. I believed you understood the line between journalism and gossip. But you chose content over that line today. Silence enveloped the studio. Creig's posture changed. He looked small, recognizing the moment had overrun him. Kelly stood. Her voice, steady, final, cut through. This interview is over, Creig pleaded. Can we start over? Kelly looked at him with both disappointment and firmness. You can't reset a conversation like a computer. You can't unsay what you said. Creig insisted his questions were part of being a journalist. Kelly laughed darkly. The truth? What truth were you seeking? Whether I'm dating? How does that serve your viewers? Or is it just juicy content? Crew members froze. Creig protested, claiming the audience cares about her. People relate to you, they say. Kelly replied quietly, sorrowfully, no, they relate because I share when I want, how I want. When you push, it feels like I'm a resource to be mined. She removed her mic. There's authentic connection and there's exploitation. You can't see the difference, Creig stood abruptly. You're making this dramatic. It's television. That's what we do. Kelly shook her head. That's not how respect works, she said. You betrayed trust. I came here in good faith, and you chose your agenda over my comfort. She looked around the studio. I actually like doing interviews, connecting with people, but moments like this make me want to build walls instead of bridges. Creig followed her as she walked off, calling out in panic. What do I tell the viewers? Kelly paused and turned one last time. Tell them you pushed someone beyond their boundaries for entertainment, and they chose dignity over your show. Tell them fame doesn't mean you belong to everyone. Tell them those they watch are human beings with families and struggles, not characters made for their amusement. With that, Kelly Clarkson walked off the set, leaving Creig Melvin standing alone under the bright studio lights. The cameras kept rolling, capturing his shock and confusion. The silence was deafening, broken only by hums of equipment and distant newsroom noise. Creig sat in stunned disbelief. He knew life and his relationship with Kelly would never be the same.